like, so example, you wanted to maintain the historic for when your organization started. Example, your organization started on 2000, so 2000 year. So you need to maintain this data from 2000 to till 2024 current. So here, example, your company started on 2020 and now it's at 2024. So till here, we need to maintain our data. So till this period. So these are the current transaction and this 20 is the historic transactions. Correct, right? So obviously when your business started, it's a 2000. So we need this data as well. This is the history data. So always client look for the history data because 2000 what is the sales happened and compared to 2000 2001 they are having the better better sales hike. Example, so in 2000 they are getting only some example, let's take they are getting some $2000 business in 2000 2000 year and 2001, so they are having some good amount of business happened in 2001. Okay, so 2001 year and there have the businesses happened over like some $3000. So $3500 as a business happened on 2001. And again, if you take for 2002 year example, I wanted to compare 2002 year. So in 2002 year something happened and they got the business some loss of value. Example, it only happened only $1500 business happened. Something happened to their stores or their business and it only recorded $1500. So now business come to know that, so we have a increase here but this year we have a decrease. And similar way, let me represent this trend as well. So 2003, so now 2003, so there is some, so now 2003 they are having $2500. There is a slight growth again here, client having. So they will check all these up and downs, why their business is down. Example, they implemented some policies and that policies drastically make this business downfall. So all these strategies which you can analyze in your data by using this real-time analysis, by keeping all these historic with the current transactions, we can understand our business growth. So business need this actually. So business, what they will check, they will check their trends. They don't see all your data. What is you are getting data from SAP or Oracle or streaming data sets. They don't understand what in and out is happening. They will just go and see this Power BI report and they will check the trends, how the businesses happened, and based on that they will decide. So which is drastic, which policy or which particular thing um, which is drastically decreasing the business. Okay, so they, so that they can correct that process. Correct, right? So always the business having the up and downs and fluctuations, and those fluctuations business need to take a decision and then they need to uh, go ahead further on that, right? So this is how business, it is very helpful. By using the synapse you will do all the historic analysis with the current transaction analysis. Okay, all this analysis with the real time analytics, we can perform all your data structuring and data processing. Okay, so hope this is clear. Let me go on to the slides. Now I'm going to explain here this one. So I have explained, right? We have various sources like SAP, Oracle, mainframes, whatever the sources, we are getting the data. How we are going to ingest? We are using the Azure Synapse pipeline. So you may get a question, I have represented ADF over there, but here it is a Synapse pipeline. So Synapse having the ADF pipelines. Okay. So ADF and Synapse pipelines both are similar. Okay. So they directly plugged in into the Synapse and you can use that ADF as a Synapse pipelines. Okay. There is no difference between Synapse pipeline and ADF pipeline. Okay. And so I told you like storage account. So storage account is a where you are going to store your input feed file. This is where you are storing the input feed file. Either your meta storage, okay, anywhere you could store. Synapse link is just it's a linked service, okay, no need to worry. But these are the storage. So where you could store all this meta store and gen2 storage. So now you have stored your data, right? In the diagram, I have represented the ETL process. So the transformations will be taken place over here in this complete diagram. If you see here, Synapse data flow. Synapse data flows and ADF data flows both are same. Okay. So these data flow, whatever available in Synapse and ADF, I told you, right? Complete ADF is introduced in Synapse. There is no difference. Okay. And it will work same like data flow. And we have a Spark pools. And you so I have represented it as a Databricks. In the Databrick notebook, you will write a Spark code or C# code, or you can write SQL, any language, whatever we have, right? Scala. So those languages only you can use in the Spark pool. Okay. So after using this, so this particular area, dedicated SQL pool, and I'll give some more glance on this because these two are very, very important in Azure Synapse, basically. So these are the two storages which we are using. After loading all the structured data, right? We will keep those structured data into the dedicated SQL pool and serverless SQL pool. Okay. And after loading this data, so we are representing finally in the visualization part. So that comes under your Power BI, and end users have the direct access to the Power BI, and they will do all their analysis in the Power BI representations. Okay. So that's how this Synapse architecture will work. And here I just represented how it will work, what it will do, all those things. Okay. But once we start the lab, you will get to know what will happen here. Okay. So if you take above diagram, right, you see there is a dedicated SQL pool and serverless SQL pool. So what that means? So basically, let's go on to here. Okay. So there are two types of mechanisms available in the Synapse. First one is the dedicated SQL pool and serverless SQL pool. So these two are the main pillars. Okay. First one is the serverless SQL pool. What is this serverless SQL pool? So serverless SQL pool, so this comes under with the Synapse service. So example, when you create the Synapse, you will get to know this one as well when I am creating the Azure service, so that you will get what is the server and dedicated, but try to understand theoretically, but I will explain one more time. No need to worry about it. So this serverless SQL pool, currently when you are going to install the Azure Synapse service, right? So this comes with the Synapse pool. Okay. You need to give a by default like a server name and the database name you will represent, and this serverless pool will produce the data. Like here it will you can use for any number of data nodes. You can parallelly execute any number of queries. Example, there are 10 users are running the query, so 10 users can at a time run the queries simultaneously, and it won't impact any performance. That is the main benefit of using this. Okay. What it will do is, you have this data, right? Suppose 10 users are there. Let me represent here. I'll take one more paint here. So let me explain here. So serverless SQL pool. Okay. Let me extract here. Okay. So serverless SQL pool, what will happen is, so there are 10 users over here. Okay, 1 second. I'll just take out this 1 second. So serverless. So serverless SQL pool. So what happens? We have a 10 different users are there. Okay. So here is the one user, second user, and uh, so third user, fourth user, and up to we have a user 10. Or let's take, you can take 100 users. Okay. So I have a user one here, user one, and user 100. So now we have a, okay, slightly I'll represent here. That is bit, okay, let here user 100. So user 100 over here. So what these 100 users are doing, this 100 users are currently using this database pool and they are doing their querying or whatever the operations. Okay. So they required. So they are doing all these queries in the serverless SQL pool. Okay. What this serverless SQL pool will do is it will distribute the queries internally. It will divide the queries, whatever they are running, right? So this serverless pool individually it will divide for 100 users and it will distribute internally inside the pools and it will run the queries internally. Okay. It will run the data process internally and then it will give the quick response. It is not a like it won't take much time. This will give the quick resolutions. Okay. So I'll just add distributed one. I'm representing D1 and D100. So one of the benefit of using this distributed SQL pools is, so whenever you queried any query, suppose example, if you take your legacy DB, so 100 users are using DB, your DB performance gets slow down basically. So when you are, so I have seen multiple times. So if the DB load is high, and you will see the performance issues on DB. So here we don't get that performance issues because in the serverless SQL pool, so what it will do is it will distribute those queries. Okay. So it will distribute those queries and it will give the quick response. When you get example, you have written a query that select star from like product. So in your product table having 1 TB data example. So this 1 TB data, so usually if you take normal DB, it will take a lot of time to show. Example, if you wanted to try for a particular records or top 10,000 or top 1,000, when you try, it will take some time to retrieve the data for a normal legacy or any other DB. But in serverless pool, it gives the quick response and it will show the data, whatever it is available. Because it is having the distributed query mechanism and this give you some more better performance. And one of the another beauty of this serverless pool is, so whenever you run, then only it will charge. Okay. Usually in Azure DB, right? Normal Azure DB, when you run the query, it will consume the data. when you run select star from product, okay, uh, before running also it will, without running this query also it will charge the amount if you take any other SQL server. So when you before without running any queries also it will consumes the data and TTUs. But in serverless pools, if you run this query then only you need to pay. Otherwise you no need to pay money for this serverless SQL pool. Okay. So so this serverless pool you can run any number of queries and uh, at any time. Okay. But cost will be consumed when you hit at the time select star from product or select star from customer or orders, invoice, anything. So if you run those particular queries, it will start giving the bill to you. Like based on the query, based on the database size, it will calculate the amount and it will give the bill for you. Okay. So now we have learned the SQL Server, right? It is opposite to dedicated. Okay. So dedicated SQL pool, what it will do is, so we are going to create one SQL Server pool, customized SQL Server pool. So let's add here in the dedicated pool. So dedicated pool is like it is dedicated to one particular server. Okay, it's like same our database, how our SQL Server DB, right? So similar way, both are similar only, but only thing is here it is a serverless. We don't have any server. You can run any query in this database and you can store the data. But in dedicated, it is the name itself. It is there. It is dedicated some application. Example, okay, dedicated. So so in this dedicated pool, so let me add it. So dedicated pools, so basically what will happen is, so you will create one server name. Example, the server name is dot sales dot stock at the rate azure.net. Okay, so this is my server name. Okay, so this is server and I have a dedicated database. So my database name is sales. So this is my DB name. But here it won't be like that. We don't have any specified DB like this, our server. So we will just represent by default DB. DB name will be there, but that is a by default DB, whatever you are going to give. But here you have a dedicated server you need to create and dedicated database name. Okay. So under this database name, all your tables and your data get stored in the dedicated SQL pool. Okay, so it is not like again a distributed. Okay, so here just like whatever the query you run, so that query will utilize and it will consume this DBs. Okay, so let me represent here DB1, DB2, and compare it to SQL serverless, right? So dedicated is costly because this is particularly for a particular application and you are creating for this DB, and without running also this will cost you.